Hello, my friends. Here I am, Pedro Candeias, the founder of Karate Science Academy, for one more weekly open lesson here on Karate Science Academy's YouTube, where I play the role of messenger, okay, of being a bridge between the science, the evidence-based knowledge that is produced every day about training methodology, and all karate coaches and athletes and students that really want to enroll with reliable and valid and robust training methodology validated by evidence. Okay, so right now what I'm doing with these weekly open lessons in Karate Science Academy's YouTube is that I'm grabbing the lessons I'm sharing in the Karate's strength and conditioning specialization, where I'm teaching many karate coaches from all over the world how to use 100% evidence-based training methodology for strength, power, speed, endurance, okay, etc. And I share some of those lessons here for free for 7 days on our YouTube. So don't forget to subscribe the channel with the notifications activated so YouTube can warn you when the new lesson comes out. I also warn everybody that is inside our Telegram channel or in our Instagram, okay? The description, the links are in the description below. And the lesson that I'm going to share with you of that specialization today is about how should you integrate speed and power training inside a karate training session or inside a weekly training session where you have to integrate speed training, technical training, tactical training, endurance, strength, whatever. Okay, so how should you integrate speed and power training during karate training? Okay, so you can take the most advantage possible, okay, from that variable so important for karate, kumite, and kata development, because we continue to see lots of mistakes of how karate teachers integrate speed and power training inside a training session or a longer week. Okay, so I hope this lesson clarifies everything evidence knows at this moment about this issue. So then let me know your comments, your feedback. Send me your questions. I'm here to help and I will answer everything you send to me. I will help you as far as I can. Okay, so let's go to the directly to the lesson. The lesson is exactly what I have inside the course Karate's strength conditioning specialization. So I hope you like it, and see you next week with a new lesson from that course and from Explosive Karate 2021 certified course by Karate Science Academy. Okay, cheers, my friends, best wishes, and see you next week. Hello, my fellow karatekas. Here we are to the last module of Explosive Karate 2021. After this module, we end the central part of the course dedicated to speed and power training specific for karate, and then we keep going with our specialization in strength and conditioning specific for karate for those who enrolled in it. Okay, in the following 2 to 3 months, we are going to share a lot of new knowledge about endurance stamina training, the use of the gym to youth karatekas, hypertrophic methodology, and how it can be useful for karate athletes. We are going to talk about the core training specific for karate. We are going to talk, for me, the main differentiator of those 5 additional courses. We are going to have a course about periodization, training periodization, where we are going to see what evidence really knows about how to manage all the strength and conditioning variables around Kumite and Kata training, okay, during a year, long-term development of our athletes. And I'm going to also add a warm-up small course because I really believe it's important. I didn't um, I didn't have it in the initial scheduling of the course, but I think it's important to see one or two things that are going to potentiate your classes, your training sessions even more. Okay, so today we are going to talk about how to integrate speed and power training in karate in the karate training session itself or during a week, for example. It's very simple. By now, we already know that to develop our maximum speed and power, we must be in the absence of fatigue, okay? Or with very little levels of fatigue installed in our neuromuscular system. So, no fatigue, okay? Or the lowest fatigue possible. So, this already gives us a clue of when to integrate speed and power training during a karate session, where you also have Kion, you also have Kumite, whatever you plan to that lesson. So speed and power training must be must be integrated in the beginning, at the beginning of the lesson, after proper warm-up, okay, not too long. Sometimes we transform the warm-up part of our lessons almost in endurance training. We can't finish the warm-up with significant levels of fatigue. We must be activated physically and mentally, but we really must be fresh and more prepared to what comes next. Okay. And if you decide to include speed and power training in your karate training session, what comes next is speed and power training. Okay. um, in a karate session, you integrate speed and power training after the warm up. Okay? If you ask your athletes, your karatekas, to perform the plyometric exercises, ballistic exercises, gyakuzukis, kata displacements as fast as possible, but when you already have 45 minutes of karate training in your legs, that won't be maximum speed and power training. That will become stamina training, where we want to keep our karatekas power and speed as high as possible, but already with a significant level of fatigue installed in the neuromuscular system. It's also important because when you have a karateka performing a grading exam for 2, 3, 4 hours, if you have an athlete competing in a competition where he or she goes through 3, 4, 5 rounds, long katas as Chatanyara Kushanku, Unsu, or Suparimpei, or you have 3 minute fights, fatigue will definitely install during those events, okay? And you want them to develop stamina, the ability to keep high levels of speed and power, but already with a significant level of fatigue installed. But that is one thing, and develop maximum speed and power is another thing, okay? Both are important, both are relevant. It's a matter of prioritizing things in each training cycle, taking your karateka's needs into account and making it a priority for speed and power or stamina or whatever. But if you identify that your karatekas need to develop their maximum speed and power, you need to make them train with in the absence of fatigue. So after a proper warm-up, not too long, not too intense, you are going to include plyometric training, ballistic training, traditional power training, specific karate displacements training, whatever. Okay, whenever you want to develop their maximum speed and power. Okay, if you go to the gym and you have to include, most of the times we have to do it, and you have to include several types of strength in the training session. Let's suppose you are going to include speed and power training, but also hypertrophic training, or traditional maximal strength training, or endurance strength, or whatever. Okay, you are going to follow the same principle. You are going to include speed or power training, all the methods you have in rapid strength development. You should include them right after the warm-up. Then you put hypertrophic training, endurance training, whatever. Okay, so this is the basic principle. Okay, but let's see now, during a training week, how can we manage this same situation? Right now, you already know that you are going to try to find the days in the week where your karatekas may be less fatigued. Okay, if we are talking about recreational karatekas, those who are going to train only twice a week, that can put at least 48 hours between classes, there is no science, okay, behind it. It's just to include speed and power exercises right after the warm-up, because they always rest at least 48 hours. If they're going to train Monday and then Wednesday or Thursday, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Just put speed and power training in the beginning of the session, and there is not much to say. Okay, but if you have athletes or karatekas that train every day, 4, 5, 6 days a week, you already have to manage, okay, speed and power training between sessions also. Okay, if you have a karateka that trains Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, for example, okay, you can pick this basic structure. Okay, you are going to put the lower limb speed and power training on Monday. On Tuesday, you are going to put the upper limbs. On Wednesday, you make a rest, for example. You don't prioritize speed and power training. On Thursday, you're going back to the lower limbs, and on Friday you go back to the upper limbs, for example. Okay, this is a basic structure where you rest always at least 48 hours for the same body segments. Okay, but we may have certain specific situations that I'm going to talk right now, just to make you think about it. Okay, so let's suppose that you have an athlete, a competition athlete, that goes to a tournament on Saturday, for example. Okay, if it's a tournament that is near the athlete's home, he doesn't or she doesn't have to travel that much. If the athlete lost in the first round, you may consider that is a competition that didn't put too much fatigue in your athlete. So you can start the week Monday with a session of speed and power training. Okay, he or she rested on Sunday, for example, and that's okay. But let's suppose that you have an athlete that went to the finals, that made 4 or 5 very intense rounds, that had to travel several hours to the tournament, and in the return to their home, to his home or her home. Okay, and you think that 48 hours may not be enough to recover your athlete properly, to put a high intensity training session to speed and power development. you start it on Tuesday, for example. Okay. In the periodization additional course, I'm going to include some tools that you may use practically, okay, in the dojo or in the gym to assess the level of recovery or fatigue that your karateka may have after a competition, for example, okay, or between sessions. Let's suppose that your athlete trains till Friday. They rest all the weekend. They didn't have any trouble with sleeping or whatever. Monday, it's the day where you should prioritize one of the speed and power training sessions because they will tend to be fresher. Okay. But if the athlete comes and says that had to work in shifts in the night, during the night, for example, or he or she had some issue that has stopped him to sleep correctly, he comes on Monday like a zombie. Monday, it's it's not a good choice anymore. You have to wait for a good day to develop speed and power, okay? Don't you ever forget this. Forcing your karatekas to train speed and power with high levels of fatigue, it's not productive, okay? But it's always your choice, your decision. Let's suppose another scenario. You have an athlete that won the tournament, had a very intense competition, that had to travel many hours from home to the tournament, from the tournament to home. But the athlete starts Monday pumped with the result, very motivated with the okay. You have to take advantage of that motivation. Okay, whenever your athletes are on fire, are pumped, that's a great period of time to apply high intensity training, unless you let's suppose your athlete starts the speed and power training session. He may have recovered faster than the average athlete would, but you put him making a set of ballistic training or whatever, and you notice that there is a significant decrease in performance compared to the other training sessions. That is a valid, a reliable, a factual sign that regardless of being highly motivated, it's not, the neuromuscular system didn't recover that well. So you change the training, okay? But let's suppose that you decide in your mind that the athlete will be tired, will be fatigued, and decide to put a slow motion, a moderate training session on Monday, but the athlete comes very pumped. Give it a try, 1 or 2 sets, and see what happens. If the athlete really demonstrates that is fresh, that the performance is high, so let it roll, okay? Don't cut the legs when they are in that mood. So, okay? In the worst scenario, it won't be a maximum speed and power development session, but it will be a stamina session. That is already, it's also very important to your karateka. So, okay, we must be always managing our athletes. In a group is harder to make it. We must look to the majority. But when we have athletes in small groups or individualized training, we can individualize the training session at this level. Okay, let me see if I'm missing something. One more thing that many people ask me through Instagram, email, or whatever, if we can use different methods of rapid strength in following days, in consecutive days. For example, plyometric training for the lower limbs on Monday and ballistic training for the lower limbs also on Tuesday. Well, the general answer is no, because regardless of being different methodology, different methods, they they are only different paths for the same destination: rapid strength development. The maximal contraction speed is present in both training methods. So, generically, the answer is no. You should balance things and change it along the week. For example, lower limbs plyometric on Monday, lower limbs ballistic training on Wednesday, for example, and you return to plyometric on Friday. But if you are able to individualize more the training for your athletes, if you have very small groups in the strength and conditioning with your athletes, or if you have athletes that are very mature, that know their bodies very, very well, you can give it a try in certain weeks, not always. In the long term, it won't be productive for sure. But let's suppose 1 or 2 weeks that you try to make that, give it a try. It might happen. It might work. Okay, punctually. Okay, you to include, for example, explosive strength with maximal loads on Monday, and for example, ballistic training on Tuesday. It's not the ideal situation. In doubt, don't do it. Okay, because the stimulus, it's not the same, but it has the same characteristics. Okay, but give it a try sometimes, and you see that the answer. If you can't control the session of your athlete because he goes alone to the gym, or because you have a too large group, for example, or you're working with young athletes that are not that mature, they are not that independent on knowing their own body signals, don't take the chance and divide it. Okay, don't make two methods, don't use two methods of rapid strength in consecutive days for the same body segment. Okay, so I think I went through all the examples I wanted to give, because it's just that it's not just getting here and okay, speed and power after the warm up with the less fatigue possible. I believe these examples allow you to understand it better and allow you to make better decisions, because I try to give you several scenarios that you might find in the future, and you will remember that I spoke about it, and I at least made you think and reflect if it's the best decision. Okay, so find you in the second lesson, where I'm going to analyze some elite athletes' exercise that they post on Instagram, for example, and let's try to remember to make a summary of several details that I think are important about speed and training methodology that I shared in module 4, for example. Okay, stay safe, best wishes, and see you in the second lesson of module 5. Cheers.